All right, today we're going to talk about the stages that your ex needs to go through in order to miss you during a no contact rule. Now, I've talked a lot in the past on this YouTube channel about the no contact rule and the different stages that an ex will go through when you use a no contact rule on them, or the psychology of a no contact rule. But what I thought I'd do with this video is change it up a bit. Now, it seems like people are enamored when it comes to the no contact rule because they think only of the fact that the no contact rule can be successful if it makes an ex miss them. While I've done my very best to debunk that theory, still it persists, and it makes a lot of sense. People who are often coming to this channel want their exes back more than anything. So when we recommend a no contact rule to them, you can see why it's an attractive thing for them to try out, because they think it will help make their ex miss them. So what I'd like to do today is talk to you about the stages that an ex actually needs to go through during a no contact rule in order to miss you. And I would like to tie this all to real life psychology. All right, let's start at the top. What exactly is a no contact rule? Simply put, the no contact rule refers to a period of time where you cut off all conceivable communication with an ex after a breakup. Now, the intent of this tactic should not be used to make your ex miss you, but instead should be used to rebuild your own life so that you can outgrow your ex. And by doing this, the no contact rule can have the added benefit of making an ex miss you. Now, like I've said a lot of different times, people come into using the no contact rule only as a means to make their ex miss them. We find that the people who do this tend not to make their exes miss them. Instead, they tend to be overly anxious and overly in their face about it. Whereas the people who use the no contact rule wisely and use it to outgrow their ex end up making their exes miss them. And so what I'd like to do is pan the camera over to your ex. Like, what is going on through their head as they're going through or having a no contact rule done on them if they're actually at a stage where they're going to be missing you. So what I've done is I've compiled 5 stages that an ex will go through if they're going to miss you during the no contact rule. And I've tied each one of these stages to a real life psychological concept to illustrate my point. Let's just start. Stage number 1, the reactance knee jerk. So what is reactance? Well, simply put, reactance is where you withhold someone's freedom to do something, and when you do that, it makes them want to react in a way to try to re-obtain that freedom. But perhaps here's a different way of looking at it. When people feel that their freedoms to choose an action is threatened, they get this unpleasant feeling inside, which is called reactance. This also motivates them to perform the threatened behavior, thus proving their free will has not been compromised. And the no contact rule is a complete fit with the idea of reactance. Of course, if an ex is going to miss you, the reactance is going to have to be successful. Hence why I call this stage the reactance knee jerk. So how does reactance work within the confines of a no contact rule? Well, simply put, when you use a no contact rule, you are essentially indirectly saying through actions, you can't talk to me anymore. That's taking one of their behavioral freedoms away. And they are going to have a knee-jerk reaction to that specific action being taken on them. This is oftentimes when you usually start the no contact rule, your ex blows up your phone, they get angry at you, and things of that sort. This is all within the confines of what we're expecting to happen. Stage number 2. The grass is greener belief. So what is the grass is greener syndrome? Well, simply put, the grass is greener syndrome is a concept where your ex believes they can do better than you. So why is it the second stage of the no contact rule stages? Well, think of it like in the order you would be experiencing it if you were in your ex's shoes. You tap into the reactance feeling within them and they get upset and angry. And whether you think your ex is above it or not, I'm telling you, they aren't above it. They are going to think to themselves, you know what? I can do better than them. I'm going to find someone better than them. Whether that's an honest, authentic feeling or if it's a betrayed feeling where they're thinking, you know what? They're being immature about the breakup. I know what will show them. I'm going to go date someone new. This is oftentimes, if you're following your ex on social media, you'll see them going on dates with other people or doing things to try to make you jealous, to tap into this grass is greener feeling. Hey there, real quick, I want to say that if you're new to this YouTube channel or you're trying to figure out what you should be doing to get your ex back and you're trying to learn if you even have a chance in your specific circumstance, probably the smartest thing for you to do is actually stop by our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, or take our Ex Recovery Chances quiz that can be found at exboyfriendrecovery.com. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, taking that free quiz is super easy to do. All you have to simply do is look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on the link you see there. It will take you directly to the quiz where you can fill it out and get an easy answer on what you should be doing going forward and overall what your chances look like in your specific situation. All right, so let's get you back to the video. Stage number 3, keeping an eye on you. Now in this stage, this is where your ex will keep a close eye on what you were up to. And if they do end up learning that you've begun dating someone else or have even gone on a date, they blow up on you even after they did the same thing themselves. We know from studies that on average, there's a 90% chance that your ex will Facebook stalk you after a breakup. It's really hard to let go. And I'm sure we've all experienced something like this in the past where we've gone through a breakup and then we've tried to look and see what our exes are up to. We're just naturally curious. Well, this is kind of on steroids when you're using a no contact rule on your ex, because think of the emotional roller coaster that they're going through. First things first, you use a no contact rule on them and they feel that nasty feeling of reactance. So they try to get that behavioral freedom back by blowing up your phone, and when that doesn't work, they get angry and start calling you names. When that doesn't work or get a reaction out of you, they decide, I'm gonna move on to someone else. And when that doesn't work, well, guess what? They're still spying on you the entire time. And this is oftentimes where I tell our clients, this is the point where you want to be cultivating the image that you want them to be seeing. However they've ever thought of you in the past is what you want to overcome, especially if it was a negative thought in and of itself. Stage number 4, they romanticize the past. All right, so far your ex has been through the ringer. You have a reactance, which is sort of a negative feeling. Then you have the grass is greener syndrome, where they start to get a little bit of a positive feeling because you know what, they're gonna show you. Then they look at your constant updates on social media and they get depressed again. Well, this next stage is where they begin to romanticize the past. Now, one thing that we know about avoidant exes is that they actually can't begin to miss you until they feel that you have moved on or that there's no chance the two of you will ever get back together again. It's this weird psychology where they feel only then safe enough to begin missing you. This is also when they can tap into the concept that we often call the peak end rule. Now, the peak end rule basically is helping people understand how we remember experiences. A lot of people have this misconception about how our memories work. For example, when we think back on an experience, we think back on it not in terms of the entirety of the experience, but in terms of the high points and the low points of the experience, the peaks and the ends. So oftentimes, when your ex is thinking back on a relationship with you, towards those first 3 stages of the no contact rule, guess what? They're not thinking of the peak exciting moments of your relationship. They're thinking of the horrible end and how you're making them feel right now, which is loped in with the end. It's only after they feel like they have no chance of getting back together with you. It's only after they feel that you have moved on that they personally can feel okay to miss you. And then they start to romanticize the past. This is also kind of another interesting thing because the next sign we're going to talk about is actually a sign of acceptance, but I'll get into that in a moment. The reason I'm telling you that right now is because this is the stage right here where we often tell our clients to end the no contact rule and begin to contact your ex. Now, figuring out the ins and the outs of contacting an ex requires an entire video to kind of cover. But this is the important thing I want you to remember. This stage number 4, this romanticizing the past is the time that you want to get back in touch with them. Because believe it or not, there is such a thing as overstaying your welcome in the no contact rule. And that leads us to stage number 5. Stage number 5, acceptance and moving on. It always makes me kind of laugh when people think that the no contact rule is like this infinite rule that you can use and that there's no consequences for staying in it for too long. There's consequences for breaking it so often that it can lose its effectiveness, just like there's consequences of staying in it for so long that an ex can kind of fall out of love with you. It is possible. And this last and final stage of the no contact rule is where this begins happening. So let's look at the sort of world from your ex's perspective. Let's say your ex is an avoidant type of an ex, which means they aren't going to begin to miss you until they feel like you've moved on, or they feel like there's no chance of the two of you ever getting back together, because then it's safe for them to miss you. Well, after that happens, after they romanticize the past, the next logical thing is, okay, I'm gonna move on with my life. And that's this final stage of no contact. This is why we don't tell people to extend a no contact rule into a 90-day range, range. In fact, the longest no contact rule that we ever recommend is a 45-day rule. It's partly because of this stage right here. We don't want you to break the no contact rule after your ex has completely moved on and they don't care about getting you back. We want you to strike while the iron is hot. Now, speaking of striking while the iron is hot, if you haven't already, make sure you take the Ex Recovery Chances quiz that I talked about in the middle of this YouTube video. Now, taking the quiz is very easy. Just simply look in the description below this YouTube video, click the link you see there, and we will get you squared away. Also, if you haven't liked, commented, or subscribed to anything on our YouTube channel, or just looked around at sort of the gigantic library of videos that we've produced here on this YouTube channel, it's probably a good idea to do so right now so that you can learn more about not only the no contact rule, but about how we can help you get over your ex or get your ex back.